Nice way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul, I see you. All right, John, finish on. Coach Carl.
Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to episode 229 of the Today's Leader podcast. Recently, I had the pleasure of speaking with Michael Artbery. Now, wow, this was a powerful conversation. Michael's got a strong story of overcoming adversity, and can I tell you, this interview was entertaining, it was energetic, and it was illuminating. So as a teenager, Michael was fortunate to receive guidance from several positive adult role models who helped him overcome adversities and set high expectations for his future. He's always been grateful for the role these mentors played in his own development, and Michael has decided to dedicate his professional life to helping others navigate the difficulty of life and launch their future into motion. I love that. Launch their future into motion. Now, Michael leaves people with aspiration and inspiration to be better. Believe me, you will not want to miss this. As with everything online at the moment, we did have a couple of glitches, and hopefully our editing has reduced the impact of them. So after we hear from Think Grow Business, it's my pleasure to bring you Michael Artbery.
The Coach Curl podcast is brought to you by Think Grow Business, the home of the Think Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
All right, it's my pleasure to introduce to the Today's Leader podcast, we have Michael Artbery. Michael, how are you?
I'm good. It's exciting, Australia, to be able to talk, you know what I mean, across country. So I'm really excited to be here and to speak to you and to your audience.
And I find it fascinating at the moment, Michael, now that you talk about that, because the world is still so easily in reach of everyone, but then at the moment, no one can travel to go see each other. So this virtual stuff seems to be working okay. So share with the listeners the Michael Artbery story.
You know, I'm a product of a raging alcoholic father, and you got to imagine when I say raging is to help define that. He raged from the time I was born until the time he died when I was 16. Okay. So, growing up, it was really a tough situation. Going through the day, I always felt some peace, but sometime during the day, always something would tap me on the shoulder and remind me that I had to go home to my situation. You know what I mean? On top of that, growing up in poverty, you know what I mean? I didn't really both my parents worked full time, but my dad's money went to the drinking. My mother was a housekeeper. She cleaned homes for a living. Yeah. And she pretty much raised us with a housekeeping salary. I had 3 siblings, so 4 of us. Yeah. So, growing up in poverty, we didn't have much money. And then with the alcoholic dad, the dysfunction, he was the leader of the house. So, being able to really live in a home where you have proper guidance, you know what I mean, wasn't really the home that I came from. And last but not least, my community, unfortunately, the homes were identical to my own. But the silver lining of my story is the fact that I came through all of that, Tony, and I was able, and I used what I came through as a catalyst to push me to help others come through their struggles as well.
So part of that, like that story is a story of strength and resilience and not allowing current circumstances or your current environment to define who you are. So you've obviously come through that. What was the when you look back on that, what was the compelling reasons behind that? What drove you out of that? Because so many people potentially, Michael, would have just accepted that that's life. That's the way it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna stun you with this one, but what drove me is I have a memory of my house, and it was worn down. It had boards on the window, so some rooms were really dark, and in the winter times we rarely had heat. But I remember falling asleep about 10 years old, and I'm crying because I'm upset, obviously, with my situation. But I promised myself that if I ever had my own children,
Yeah.
that they would never have to live in that situation. And let me tell you something, Tony. Sometimes when trying to push if it wasn't for me, my unborn children is what pushed me to be successful. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? The fact that if I wanted to make sure that when I got older and in adult form, that my kids would never have to live the life that I lived. And I'll tell you, I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they know nothing of the beginning of my life. See, I graduated to a better life, but my kids only know the graduation piece of my life. And so, that was the catalyst to push me, I think, as I was coming through it.
And you work with a lot of youth now, teenagers, young adults, and sharing your story and helping them get through and break through. How do you walk me through how you work in that space?
So what I did is I ended up going to college for social work. And once I became a social worker, I worked for many different agencies, and what they would do is they would give me curriculums, and they were terrible, Tony. And then they would crucify me. They would buy it online, hand it to me, and say, "Go do this." And then when it would fail, I would get called into the office, and they'd say, "Hey, well, listen, buddy, you're in trouble." So I said, "You know what? I'm gonna cut them out the mix." What I did is I created my own. I created a program I call Power of Peace. And what it is, it's a 4-day, but it's 2 days at a time. It's an interactive experience. Let's pretend you're a principal, Tony. I would come to your office. I would ask for 30 students. They would have to be a cross section of what's in your building. So you got to imagine 30 students, all different backgrounds, white, black, Latino, jock, honor roll student. And I run them through a 2-day experience where they get to self-reflect, but at the same time, they get to learn each other through a process. I'm a firm believer that we go through life and we step on landmines, and the landmine doesn't blow you up, but damage occurs.
Yeah.
And what happens is we start to make decisions based on the damage rather than what's going on in real time. So what I do with these young people is through my experiential experience, I walk them back through their lives, Tony, and I allow them to see the landmines because they're now teenagers making decisions of something that probably happened to them when they were 6 or 7 or 8 years old.
Wow. That sounds like a powerful sort of experience, both from a facilitation point of view and from a participant point of view. It sounds incredible. Now, I've looked at some of the topics that you talk through, some of these workshops and that are in your book. So I'm intrigued by them. So talk me through, be the driver of your car, not the passenger.
So listen, for that, Tony, I feel like, and not only teenagers, but adults as well, we are products of our thought lives.
Yeah.
And so what we do is what we think about ourselves, we reflect it on the world. So what I do is I run them through, one of the ways I do it, I walk them through an exercise I call affirmation. And what I do is I give them 1 minute to list all the positive qualities about themselves, all right, to a partner. And then the partner listens, the partner goes, and then I have the partner stand up and introduce them. So they said the positive things, and their partner introduced them with the positive things. And then once I'm finished, I allow them to feel how that is. But then I pull them back out into, everything I do is in a circle.
Yeah.
So I pull them back out in the circle, and then I walk them through a story, Tony. And I talk to them about how when my daughter was 4 years old, my wife brought her down to my man cave. I'm watching football, and she comes in. She's about to go to bed. She comes, she gets on my lap. I play with her. And then she walks back over to my wife. And right before my wife picks her up, I say, "Good night, beautiful." And she looks at my wife and she does a happy dance. And I'm like, wow. She walks away. But then because of the work I do, and I'm telling them this story, I think about it. I said, what if I called her ugly? What if when she came downstairs, I said, "Hey, didn't I tell you about bringing her downstairs? I don't want you to bring her downstairs when I watch football." And I walked them through the fact that if I did that to her at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I bring it up to the age group that I have sitting with me. And once I tell them that, I say, what do you think she looks like? And then the teenagers will say, she's dark. She has low self-esteem. I talk about a relationship with boys. How is it? They say it's probably bad because you're a man, you're a boy, or she loves boys too much because she wants the attention from the boys that, you know what I'm saying, she doesn't get from a father. But what I'm trying to say is, with all that going on, I asked them the question, who do you think's driving a car? And they say, you are, her father. And I explained to them that I will drive her car. She can get married and have a husband. I'm still driving a car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She can get married, have a husband and a child. I still drive a car. And what I teach them is that until you take back your keys, or until she takes back her keys, I'll drive her car for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And so be the driver of your car is a concept that I push because I want them to understand the words that are said to you, the negative thoughts that you may have about yourself. You have control of keeping a thought or kicking it out your head, because if it plants itself, it germinates and it can grow just like a seed.
That's excellent. That is excellent. Tell me about Shake the Dirt.
Shake the Dirt. All right. For me to explain Shake the Dirt, though, Tony, I got to tell you another story. Do you mind listening to another?
Absolutely. I love stories.
All right. So here you go, Tony. I got a story for you to make Shake the Dirt relevant to our conversation. So it's about a farmer and a donkey.
Yeah.
And this donkey is one of his favorite farm animals because once he finishes working with the donkey on the farm, he brings the donkey back home to play with his kids. So imagine the kids come running out the house. He's coming down the driveway with the donkey. They play with him. They wash him. They ride him. This is a normal occurrence.
Yep.
One day he does it. He brings them home, but he releases them in the farm. But the following morning, when he wakes up, he whistles for the donkey, and the donkey doesn't show. So Tony, he's walking around the farm. He's looking for him. He finally finds him at the bottom of an empty water well. So now he's looking in the well. He wants to get him out. So he goes and gets 6 of his friends, and they come over to the well. And they're like, how are we going to get him out? So they decide they're going to pull him out with some rope. So they all get some rope. They start lassoing the donkey. They miss him. They miss him. They miss him. Finally, they throw it by his hind legs. He steps into the rope. They shimmy it up his body, and they start pulling. They pull, the donkey moves. They pull, the donkey moves. Then halfway up the well, they realize that the donkey's too heavy.
Yeah.
So they lower him back to the bottom of the well. And now the farmer has to make a grim decision. Now, see, he can't feed him food at the bottom of the well because that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
He can't starve him because starving him, you know what I'm saying, is like, if he's like a pet, he can't really starve him. One of his hot-headed friends was like, hey, just shoot him. He's like, no, I can't do that. But one of his more reasonable friends said, listen, you don't want your kids to fall into the well. So we're going to cover him with dirt to sacrifice your donkey so that your kids are safe. And so the farmer said he can deal with that. So imagine, Tony, they all get shovels and they start shoveling the dirt. And every time that dirt hits the donkey, he screams. And every time he screams, it causes the farmer some distress. So you got dirt, scream, dirt, scream, dirt, scream. Then all of a sudden, Tony, the screams stop. When they scream stop, they give the donkey a moment of silence. But then they get back to work. More dirt, more dirt, more dirt. The next thing you know, you see the donkey's right here. So they start shoveling cartoon style. The next thing you know, you see half the donkey's body. They keep shoveling, and the next thing you know, that donkey walks right out of the well that he fell into.
Yeah.
Now, Tony, every time that dirt came across the wall, it would fall on that donkey's back. He would shake it off and he would step on it. And he used every scoop of dirt that was meant to kill him to save his life. And what I do is I explain to the young people, and it goes to people in all the world, that we all have dirt. And what the strategy of life has to be and should be is we have to learn to shake our dirt and step on it, because if we don't perfect that, Tony, that dirt will suffocate and take us out just like it would do the donkey.
That's powerful and so relevant in what we see around the world today. There's a lot of pain from the past that's being exhibited now, and the ability for us potentially to be able to shake some of that off and continue to grow is absolutely true and relevant. So your unborn family were a major inspiration in moving you out of circumstances and environment. Since then, who's been the inspiration behind your leadership journey?
We to talk ground rules. Religion and politics sometimes off limits. But I gotta be real, Tony. So hopefully you don't blow me up. Spiritual God, man. Yep. You know what I'm saying? What drives me is I'm a spiritual guy. I'm very much into my faith. And what drives me is that I feel as if my responsibility as a man is for every person that may never go to religion or any sort of spirituality, that my contact and my interaction with them, that I can be a catalyst of being that person that can reach out to the world. And so that's what pushes me, Tony. But I'm not one of those guys. I don't lead with that. So sometimes I'll never even tell you what I do, and I sometimes get chills down my back is when I have an interaction with someone, they kind of feel that essence, and then I get to unload it on them, and they get to understand where it came from.
Yeah. And no dramas here, because at the end of the day, we've all got an inspiration. There's a lot of people that follow a spiritual journey, and that's what inspires them. And if it's helping them make a better life for not just themselves, but for the people around them and humanity in total, I think it's an admirable thing. So, and I'm constantly reminded that Jesus was a great leader. So, and the Bible is the first leadership book. So I'm constantly reminded of those things. So there's some really good stuff in that. So, so when we talk about great leaders, especially today, right? So in many ways, leadership changes. In many ways, it stays the same. So what are some of the great traits that you believe lead to be a great leader of today? What are some of those great characteristics, great traits that you need?
First and foremost, Tony, that you have to always remain a student. See, what happens with people that are teachers is they feel as if they have to be perfect. They're constantly putting themselves in a position to teach and push people. But sometimes what happens is if you open your mind, your students and the people that you're leading can teach you some of the best jewels and morsels of life. So first and foremost, the teacher has to always remain the student. The second thing I feel is if you have to be prepared. Preparation is key. And I say that to you because I learned at a very young age. I was an elite athlete. I played football. I played many sports, but football was my favorite. And I remember that one of my key things I would do is training camp was when you were supposed to prepare for your season.
Yeah.
But I would come into training camp already in shape. So I would have a head start on my competition of my team.
Yeah.
But then I had a 2-week head start on my people and my opponents. And if you see my statistics, it was proof positive. You know what I'm saying? I performed on a very high level. So preparation is big. And my final one is consciousness.
Okay.
I think, Tony, that we have to live a life of consciousness where we're able to quiet all the craziness and really zero in on what our goal and objective is so that we are there in the
Yeah.
moment and not all over the place.
Excellent. So curiosity is, and that constant quest for learning is just something that's absolutely critical in my eyes. And I see so many leaders move into the space, and no doubt you have as well, where they believe they know it all. They're the teacher. You can't tell me anything about leadership. So how do you work with people like that? What's some of the strategies that you would put together?
With the person that feels that they know everything?
Yeah.
Well, what you do is very delicately, you crush everything they stand on.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you
very
do.
delicately crushed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. That's the oxymoron. But no, what I mean? Okay, let me fix that, Tony. What I do? Okay, it's better. Imagine a platform.
Yeah.
What I do is delicately I take boards out of the platform so eventually they fall.
Yeah.
You see, so I don't crush them.
Yeah.
But what I do is they stand on these things that they feel that is such a part of their foundation, and I slowly but surely dismantle it.
Yeah.
So that they become vulnerable, and then you kind of look at them and say, I thought you knew everything.
Yeah.
And you do that in a very delicate way, and if you do it in a very kind way, the one that really realized what just happened will humble themselves and kind of say, all right, let's walk this thing out together.
Yeah.
And then when you get the one that just don't get it after that, you can't take a horse to water and make them drink.
Yeah, there's some people, unfortunately, we can't help. But that concept of delicately crushing is actually quite a strong leadership lesson as well, because you've still got care and respect for the person. If you didn't, you'd just crush it. So the one of the big things that I believe in absolutely is the intention of leaders and the investment that a leader has to make, whether it's in themselves, their people, their continuing growth. But the big thing around leadership is really about the people. So if you don't have that as your number one overriding aspect of why you're a leader, to look after, care for your people, make your people better, develop your people, the list is almost endless. You're never going to be that great leader that's remembered throughout time. So, when we need to shift someone's focus or their mindset or remove or help them become more vulnerable as a leader, the concept of delicately crushing actually sort of fits in, because we know potentially that there's something that's blocking them, something that's holding them back. We need to have that removed, but we do it in a way that's respectful. So delicately crushing actually resonated with me. So I might use that moving forward.
There you go. No problem, Tony.
So during life and during our journey, there's inevitable failure and there's peaks and there's troughs. And how do you work through when you're approaching what potentially could be some failure, or you're working out of a trough? What are some of the internal strategies that you use?
What that concept of the teacher being the student becomes my it saves me. You know what I'm saying? So when you're constantly the student and you take perfection off the table, then it gives you some room to be able to move. So what I do is I strive towards an objective. When I run into a dead end, rather than looking at that as a failure, it's like sitting in the classroom and saying, you know what? A lesson is learned there. What is it trying to teach me?
Yeah.
And then I try to attack it from a different perspective.
So you take it on as a bit of a learning, and then you endeavor to move forward.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you maintain? You're an energetic sort of a bloke, Michael. How do you maintain your energy?
It's crazy. I'm almost obsessive compulsive discipline. My discipline is off the charts, Tony.
Yeah.
And but what's beautiful is that it's not to a level where I frustrate myself. So that's why it's not OCD. And I'm careful to remember that because I don't have to go see someone and talk about it. So if you do something to disrupt the discipline, I don't lose my mind, but I am structured, man. So, it's like my day is set out. The first thing I do every day is I'm a workout fiend. So I work out. This is gonna blow your mind, but I work out 5 hours a day.
Wow.
5 hours. Now, for any of my exercise fiends, they're like, "How do you do that?" One of the blessings and the curse is I had a spinal cord injury that I recovered from, but one of the plus to that is the fact that my legs don't build lactic acid. So
Okay.
I can literally do cardiovascular work.
Wow.
8 hours straight and never feel the lactic acid in my leg. Yeah, it's crazy, Tony. I can sit on the exercise bike, and if you put a catheter in me, you know what I'm saying, and fed me, I can ride it all day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, because my wife and I run marathons, so
boy.
I know how our legs feel at at the halfway point, let alone at the end point. So not having that lactic acid would be, I suppose it's there for a reason. So I don't want to.
No. So I get up and I do cardio. The first thing I do every morning is my spiritual time, so I get my mind right.
Yeah.
And I believe in mind, spirit, and body. So I'll do that first. I'll work out. I do anaerobic. I do lift weights.
Yeah.
And then I do different types of cardiovascular. I got a recumbent bike. I got a spin bike. I got an elliptical. And so I jump from each one. I do about 4 hours in the morning, and then I go back and do a night session. Either before dinner or after dinner is completed.
Wow.
So discipline keeps me in a good headspace.
So discipline keeps you focused, and that focus keeps you energized. So when we're talking about leaders, a lot of leaders are readers. We obviously have some books that have made the biggest impact, and I know obviously based on your spirituality, the Bible's going to have a big impact on yourself. But what other leadership books have inspired you on your journey?
One of my mentors, and he doesn't even know that he's one of my mentors, is a bishop. His name is Bishop T.D. Jakes.
Okay.
And his teaching and his thought process and his essence, I love. So I read a lot of his books. You know what I'm saying? A lot of his books. And so those are books that I dive into. And if I can't get to one of his books, I'll listen to one of his YouTubes. And then, of course, on Sunday mornings, he is where I go to get spiritually uplifted.
Excellent. So what's the vision for you moving forward?
What has happened, which is with COVID, right before COVID hit, I have my business, but it's in person. And a guy reached out to me to go out to LA. Los Angeles to do a conference on branding your business. And the thing that he pushed at the conference was global awareness. People have to know you all over the world. And that's why I'm talking to you right now on this podcast, Tony, because when I came back, I just started to, anytime I sent out emails to podcasters that I felt had similar platforms to myself. Yeah. Let me tell you something. I've been doing podcasts since COVID started. I've been on over 75 podcasts.
Wow.
And I'm talking about Australia, the UK, Nigeria. I even had a podcast that a gentleman from India took it in English and he translated it into Hindu and had that for the Indian youth. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, my vision is to continue to build on the virtual side. Eventually I'll be back on the road and I can do my in-person work. But now I've realized that I now have a virtual piece where I can be in 1,000 other places and that's a wonderful thing because I feel like I have a message that the world needs to hear, Tony.
Oh, absolutely. I'd 100% agree with that. Michael, so out of everything that you've accomplished over the last couple of years, what are you, more than just the last couple of years, what are you most proud of?
Being a good father.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm most proud of the fact that I didn't have someone to show me and that I have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful relationship with my kids. Again, God gifted me with the ability to, they call it the Holy Spirit, so it prompts you and it leads you. And I listen, right down to my fathering. I have my daughter and I, have a wonderful relationship. My son, I have a nice balance where he respects me. I've never had to break his spirit. And so, I think the scariest night of my life was the night before we brought my daughter home from the hospital because I was so afraid, Tony, that nobody was able to show me how to do it. But, 16 years old, 12 years old, you know what I'm saying? And you know what? I take care of the kids in the streets, but I make sure I take care of my kids in my home first.
Absolutely. And powerful stuff that you're able to break a cycle. So many people would have, as I said earlier, would have just accepted that this is what life's about. That's my role model. That's who I'm meant to be. And you chose a different role model. You chose to be yourself and be a strong father. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Michael, this is your question. Anything that I haven't asked you yet, this is your chance to jump on a soapbox. I've got a feeling you're going to do that. So let's do that. Let's.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to jump on my soapbox. So on my soapbox, Tony, let's first hit this. I wrote a book. It's called Be Encouraged. And, listening to my story, I want your listeners and for you also to get the book because the book is an extension of everything I said. It's written in a devotional style. It's called Be Encouraged. You open up a page and what I just expressed to you as far as what I've come through speaks to you on a daily basis. You know what I mean? And what I have going now is if they go to, and we'll put it in the show notes, if they go to shakethedirtexperience.com, Tony, they actually get a free copy of the book.
Wow.
All right?
Okay.
So they get a free copy.
ShakeTheDirtExperience.com.
And they can get the book. Also, on my soapbox, I've created this online course, Tony, and it's called Shake the Dirt Experience as well. All right. And now with the donkey story, they know exactly where it's coming from. And this online course, I call it a 10-day challenge. And during the 10-day challenge, I walk them through their lives so that they're able to see those landmines, flip them landmines over, see what damage has occurred in their life, and start to create a life for what is going on in real time rather than what they went through in the past. But also we'll put in the show notes, that's shakethedirtexperience.com so that they're able to go to get the 10-day challenge course, Tony.
Excellent. Nice and easy to remember, shakethedirtexperience.com, and that's the online course, and it's a 10-day challenge. That's awesome.
Yes.
Michael, It's been a pleasure connecting with you and having you share the story with the listeners of the Today's Leader podcast. Thank you very much. You're in Connecticut. I'm in Brisbane, Australia. It's been wonderful connecting. We had a little bit of technical hitches during the course of that. Hopefully that hasn't affected the recording. But yeah, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tony.
Join the group of people impacted by seriously simple stuff to get you unstuck. The first book by Tony Coach Curl. Available at Amazon, Tony's Simple Stuff provides the tool for people to master your life and aspirations. 20% of every book sold supports Carter's cause.
How often do we hear from inspirational people? And how often do we hear from just people with insightful stories and a message for us all? And that's what I really took away from Michael today. He's got insight, he shares stories, he's got a message that we can all take on board, no matter where we are in this journey, whether it's a career journey, a life journey, a business journey. There was a message today from Michael to you, and I'm sure that you've taken that away. One of the two key points that I just want to talk briefly about now is circumstances do not define you. And that was a really strong message from Michael, because simply they don't. Circumstances don't define you. They don't. Michael spoke of his upbringing and the challenges that surrounded that, and how he chose to have a commitment to his future family that enabled him and empowered him to build his own path and change the future trajectory of his life. He chose not to be defined by his current circumstances back at that stage, and he chose to build a better life. And he's now firmly positioned to help and guide others do the same. But one of the other concepts that I really loved that Michael brought was and his word were the product of our thought line. Now, I know that this is not a new concept, but it's so true. We are what we think we are. It's the way we view the world. It's our lens to the world. It's the story we tell ourselves. No matter which way you like to think about this, perception, perspective, it is so true. And the power that we have as people to change that story. We can choose to respond and change our story. What we think is reflected in the world. So if you think negatively, if you have a negative mindset, it's pretty odds on that you're going to view this world as a negative space. But if you're optimistic, or if you're growth mindset, you're going to look for those opportunities that exist, because fundamentally they exist. So can I tell you, you better believe in yourself if you want the world to believe in you. So I hope that you took away some amazing insights, and don't forget to join us now on our Monday mentoring episode, funnily enough, on Monday, where I will mentor around Michael's Be the Driver of Your Car. Thanks again for Michael, and don't forget to connect with him online, and his website is in the show notes, but he can be found simply by Googling Michael Artbery. In today's disruptive world, good leadership skills will always stand you in good stead. If you're looking to build better leadership skills, consider my two businesses, Think and Grow Business and the Coach Curl Academy. Think and Grow Business is the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind, where we focus on personal, professional, and your business growth. Book in for a 30-minute free discovery call now at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au. The Coach Curl Academy has now over 78 programs that helps to guide and build a better you. And the first month membership is just $1 jolly dollar. That's right, just $1 jolly dollar. So you can join and test the waters to make sure it's exactly what it is that you need for just the $1 for the first month. It's the academy that equips you and enhances your mindset, your leadership, and your business. And you can check that out at thecoachcurlacademy.com. Don't forget, you are standing stronger, braver, and wiser. And don't ever forget that golden rule. Yes, you know what that is. Just don't be an asshole. I'll see you next time.